Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you are. I hope you're having a phenomenal day so far, and welcome to today's stream where we're kicking off a bit later than normal with some Farthest Frontier. So this is New Derpton. We've, I can't remember what was happening the last time we played this. It has been a little while. I thought we had a raid on this way in, but we'll see how this goes. So let's start with doing some quick trading, try and get some more gold in, and then I think we'd like to start getting some walls built. Okay, it looks like we're now down on coal again. Let's have a look at our villagers. So we've got our original area just here. Then off to the east, we have some forest that we've grown and some of our food production buildings for animals. They're just fenced in by a wee palisade fence. We've started expanding over this way again to try and provide some workers a little bit closer. I'm talking about expanding. Let's make sure we've got some resources over here. There you go. We'll mark that as urgent. Then we've got an initial design for some of our city walls. And we have access to a deep sand mine over here, which we're not doing very much with at the moment because we're only using sand to produce glass. We need to expand this just a little bit as well. We've got a couple of shelters over there. Then over the other side, you see this is our central housing area with some rather lovely bakeries. We've got some more food production as you head towards our newest mining area, where there are some gold mines, and we've built ourselves cavalry stables. We're hoping to continue to expand our cavalry. And then if we go north, we've got our main mining area here, which we probably need to turn some of these buildings back on again, just to up the amount of available coal that we have. Laz says, I remember the past flanker screwed you. Past flanker is a... I'm sure he has. Hello, Calic. How are you this morning? Oh, yep. Oh, yep. Yep. We just started quarrying and, yes. Damn it. Yes. Why would Past Flanker do this to me? Especially at the start of a stream where I can't hand it off to Future Flanker and it be their problem. Right, I'll call out the cavalry. And we're going to have to ring the bell. We don't have a choice. Oh, good. A cavalry stable with no cavalry in it. No, what are you doing? Right.
As you command. Right away.
Right, now you can run out there. I just don't want them running outside the walls.
It will be done. Right away. It will be done. As you command. As you command. It will be done. It will be done. As you command.
I'm trying to deal with the archers because they can keep outputting damage to us.
At once. As you command.
What, there's enemy cavalry here? What the heck? This is a problem. Good morning, Mark. Alright, well. Welp.
It will be done. At once.
Jeez.
Right
come
away.
back here, you thieving so-and-sos. Drop that cheese. Damn. Right. We can get them all to retreat to barracks. They wanted some fish. No, they touched our cheese reserves. The only person allowed to touch the cheese reserves is Mark. That touching the cheese reserves will get you a 80% plus casualty rate. Don't touch the cheese. How are you this morning, Kaz? Right, we need to rebuild our army. They got away with nothing. They get nothing. But we are going to have to up our defenses quite a bit. So we've got 137 labourers needed. We can spare about 10. And we're going to have to... So we've got two priorities. One's going to be trying to get walls built. Not sausages, to avoid any confusion. Okay, so we do have stone being produced there. And we've got carts and everything bringing it over. Alright, we'll upgrade one of our forges in the north. This is a better defended area, only just though, and we're going to have to get our arms and armour together properly. Alright, so I think coal is our limiting factor at the moment. Luckily, we can produce that pretty much anywhere by making charcoal. I want to keep an eye on our food, because we did quite a bit of work on food last time with these new food areas here, so we just need to make sure we continue, because we're a little low on food thanks to that raid. Oh, and have we told everyone to get back to work? No, we have not. And we need more housing. Enough. I'm trying to build the housing around this market that we built here, and I'm going to get 2 more people on the market as well. I'll mark those as a priority. Might build another little housing district in town as well. There we go. So those two should be served by that market. And I'll put an extra... an extra 2 houses there as well. I'm concerned about food this year because we've got all these crops in the field. Where we called our people in, a lot of those are going to go to rot, and I don't think we have quite the grain stores we used to. No, we don't. Good morning, Zikane. Lovely to have you here. How are you? Right, so the one good defensive thing we did last time is we got more stables being put up around the city, so we can use cavalry to provide an initial defense or shock troops. The problem is we're only getting 1 additional horse a year at the moment, so it's going to take to fill the host 30 years. If we're not careful, we might starve before then. There's a rat catcher. What's that cart containing? 40 stone. Cool. Okay. Because it might be going a hell of a distance, but it is at least carrying some stone with it. That it's not producing a huge amount of stone for the amount of people involved, but we have got 146 stone being produced. We're going to need it because a single section of wall, if we go into the defences, is 5. The walls won't stop anyone. They're really just there to pause the assault while we can either hit them with something else or bring some more troops to bear. Hey, Gloom, how are you? Only one additional horse a year, they're so expensive, that's a lot. Yeah, so our entire gold reserves at the moment is 1,400 gold. That's one horse. That's the most expensive thing I ever imported was a horse. Gloom is tired, sleepy. That is reasonable. I know that feeling. I think we might starve, chat. That could be a problem. Granary. Got 62 bags of flour there. Nothing there. Nothing there. 250 grain. We may just get away with this because the grain and flour doesn't count towards our food reserves. And we do have bakeries and pastry shops apparently. So how is our food looking on marketplaces? Oof. How is that so low? We got some fruit. No food there. Got some eggs and greens there, so I think the villagers may need that cupcake, guys. Splat the rat. We're down to 1 month of food. And we're lacking clothing. We're becoming a nudist colony. Excellent. That's a choice. So I'm just setting up a couple of cobblers. The linen clothes I can't do much about. On the hide cloaks will require us to, I think, require the tanneries. And no one wants to be next to a tannery. Alright, let's see if we can... That's a really high price for fish. We've got another trader. We can maybe sell some soap. Oh, there you go. That's more reasonable. So the other guy had fish for 6 gold apiece. She's bringing us fish for 4. So let's buy all of that and just transfer it immediately. Problem is our population's so big now, that's barely going to hit the sides. That might have got us 1 additional month's worth of food. Not even. We cut down our sword production earlier. I'm a bit concerned about our heavy tool production as well. There's not really anything else we particularly want to sell her. Probably not a great idea, but we can get some wooden planks because that's a renewable resource. Well, at this rate, it looks like it's going to be some cheese and rat toasties that you can have if you're in our city. Right, just trying to get a little bit of gold back. Those cobblers been built yet? I've put these close to town, so there'll be a shorter travel time, hopefully, for people working in them. Oh, one of our villagers has died. Well, we're cutting their salaries. They're going to die on us from old age. I'm not going to pay them anymore. We're low on bricks again. How are we doing for resources for villagers? So we've got some slack on the villagers. So I'm going to put 12 of them into our brickyards. And make sure we're full on foragers and farmers. And Wainwrights and healers. So we've got about 30 that we can probably afford to use, sorry. Now, do we stick more people down at the quarries? Or do we try and get more weapons being made so we can increase our military? Looking good there, lass? Right, we'll get our cavalry back up to full force. Or 8. We ideally need 6 or 7 months worth of food in storage before winter. Winter. Let's go. Right, and our heavy tools numbers are dropping. That's a problem. Love that for us. We just left all of our gold out there so it doesn't count towards our total. Yep, this is the way. I need to see if I can stick another thing for wagons out here. We'll put 2 out here because I'm thinking that might help our production along here. Like really up our smelting. Well, one of these is going to have to... Oh, what? No. Oh, damn it. Frostbite and broken legs. You don't want to die of exposure. Get inside the house. It's a small problem. Our Fletchers have been working overtime, and arrows are an item we cannot sell. We have thousands of in storage. Edward says, get inside the house, the government's trying to control us. What next? They'll tell us to wear masks. Well, if you've seen Lazarus's face in this, you would want him to wear a mask as well, Henwood. It's for the public good. Nothing to do with public health. Need a bag for yours, a plastic one. Ah. I mean, that's reasonable. I think you were down the mines. I think they put... no, actually, you might be driving a car at the moment, Laz. There you go.
Yes.
They said I was 56 and I'm only 53. 53. Not as young as you used to be. Indeed. Look at this. All of our storage is taken up with arrows. It was all arrows. I need to build a new warehousing district just for the arrows. Alright, this year we need bricks and food. We just about survived the winter. We came out with 2 months. What you got being built? We've got some grain. Some carrots. Hay. Grain. Make sure the grocers are... Oh, and night soil collectors. Let's see what the traders have got for us. Bought some food security. Put some of the medicinal roots for sale. I don't want to sell any of the pelts. We can sell 100 soap. That new horse means we can get potentially one new cavalry. We'll recruit another lancer over there. It's a really high price for tallow. I'd like to have bought more of the horses, because getting an additional 4 horses would be huge for us. We just don't really have anything to trade to be able to do that. I'd like to buy more food as well, but... yeah, we're just going to start to put some of the walls up. Because these baskets are being made really as a trade item. We've got all of these buildings here, all our basket manufacturing area. I wouldn't mind those cows either. How many cows do we have in our additional farms? Actually, we're doing okay for breeding our own cattle. That's... I think there's a weaver's just here. So those are the candle shops. So there's our weavers. I'll add 2 more people to the weavers. See if we can get some more clothing being made. Let's get off-roads and fencing up as well. Alright, we've bought ourselves a little bit of food security. I want to make sure we keep an eye on our horse population. I might regret this, but I think I'm actually going to tell them to start recruiting a bunch of lancers. So that's now 16 cavalry we've got. And more importantly, one's in the center area, one's off to the far left. And I'm starting to build walls on the right of the city. And I need to build more warehouses. Which I think might just get built. There, right. We needed more housing again. I think ideally we'd like them to be towards this side, this little village here. Not quite sure what I've done with the road there, but that's fine. Hey, Jam, says this bloody frontier ain't far enough away, that riff-raff. Oh, I know, but we did put lads down to bit, so, you know. Best place for him. Well, that's what I thought. Oh no, I think he's escaped. He's now got a promising career in transport. There we go. There's
Hello
Laz.
there.
Yes, hello, Laz. But still, you know, outside the city walls. Won't scare the children there. How's you today, Jam? You keeping well, my friend? I think we need to get some more entertainment here. Well, I'll tell you what. Since Laz is all the way over here, we'll upgrade our pole so Laz can do some pole dancing. I'm sure that's what it's called. And then we'll increase the shrine to provide some more religion to the area, because I'm sure we'll be able to persuade more people to turn to God after seeing the Laz pole dance. Bathroom still isn't finished. Oof. Last I feel like Flanker read the review I made for the reason he's harping on at me. Oh. Yeah, there's a festival pole. That needs repaired pretty quickly. Oh, I might have found a minor bug. I can't force builders to build the town hall. Where did our labour pool go? We've got more people than ever and we suddenly don't have a labour pool. We've only got 44 farmers. What in the heck is going on? There they go. Ah, it's because the builders... Because we've built these stone walls. The stone walls are really just here to buy us a little bit more time to be able to bring cavalry and infantry over. But it's the start of our actual city walls here. They're going to be so expensive to build. Jam says, yeah, things suck, but that's his life. That is a reasonable assessment. How are you? I'm not bad. I'm incredibly busy work-wise because we live in interesting times. But enjoyed my trip around Scotland. Had a look at a few office spaces and retail stores, and I'm now back to a land with less good baked goods. Although I do have 2 steak bridies in the fridge, so that's at least something. I did see some interesting office spaces. At both ends of the scale as well, so we've been assessing as to what size, what location. Saw a lot more interesting retail and light industrial space as well. But there were some nice offices I saw in Edinburgh with some spectacular views. But Edinburgh is not very far off London pricing for offices. Then went a wee bit further away to Fife and saw some that I think one of them was 1,000 square foot, and to buy it was £78,000. With all of the downsides of it being a wee bit further away and like a half-hour train ride to Edinburgh. But I really need those houses to be built. You see this office for the new board game hobby shop. Well, so I've got depending on where we end up picking, and that's the reason I'm doing a bit of a grand tour around the UK, is to decide where we want to set up. But there's opportunities, I think, in Scotland for a couple of things we're looking at doing. So it's a potential option for attracting development talent, because if you've got a family, Scotland's a pretty awesome place to live. Particularly if you would like to university educate your family. Being as university education in Scotland is A, excellent, and B, free to those in Scotland still. So for attracting talent, that combined with the housing prices around Fife, because you're looking to attract talent internationally while still having all the benefits of a capital city like Edinburgh, make it quite attractive for our development side, and for our new retail ventures. Property's just cheaper. And because in Scotland leaseholds are not a thing, you can only buy a freehold. It means that you can actually buy premises far more easily. And you got all the downsides of owning a freehold, that you're going to have to maintain the thing. But if you've ever rented commercial property before, you have to maintain the thing anyway. So, but you can. There's a lot of interesting like shared freeholds, and I think there's several areas in Scotland that I think are going to boom in the next few years. Areas like Leven that at the moment are have had a bit of a rough time retail-wise, let's put it that way. Their high street's not fantastic. And Kirkcaldy, Kirkcaldy's only half an hour train away from Edinburgh on a bad day. And, oh geez, we need more housing. And Leven's just got a direct route to Edinburgh as well. And Kirkcaldy's actually on the same main line that goes all the way down to London. So you can get a sleeper train or a direct train and be in London. And I think it's 5 hours from Kirkcaldy. So even for international travel, you've also got Edinburgh Airport and stuff. So some serious considerations as to kind of where to base our next offices. And on the retail side, that's attractive as well, because I can't be the only person that's seeing that. And some of the areas like Leven that would have previously required you to drive to get to the office, or like drive into Kirkcaldy and then get a train to commute into Edinburgh, there's now direct services into Edinburgh at commuting times, and they're going to triple those. And the house price disparity between Edinburgh and Leven is enormous. So I think you're going to start getting more commuters that are earning money in Edinburgh, which means there'll be more money to spend around Leven, hopefully. So, will there be a dedicated Wagley area? Well, problem with all of this is that traditional retail is indeed dying on its arse. But a lot of that is because retailers don't give people a reason to go out to a place. Having stock on the shelves is not enough. Because you're always going to get your lunch eaten for you by Amazon or an equivalent. Micro Center's doing well. Yeah. It is. And you know what they have that's unique? They have a different stock profile, but also they have experiences in store. There's a reason to go to a Micro Center. So if you are near a Micro Center, you're going to be able to go and see all of the cases in person, which is a difficult thing to kind of judge remotely. But also they'll do your build for you for not a lot over retail because they're a retailer, so the build costs to them are just additional margin because they're already making the margin on selling the goods. In a fairly low margin business, they've managed to create something that's if you are into tech, they've done a really cool layout of store that's really interesting and worth traveling to. But if you compare that to Curry's PC World, the only time most people go to a Curry's PC World is if they're desperate for a particular item. And Jem, I agree with your inserted rant, sir. They have monsters and sound things you can try out. Yeah, and I mean, like, one of the things that there's the 2 or 3 things killing retail in general globally. One is that it used to be enough that you had stock stock on the shelves. And stock on the shelves you still need, and that's table stakes. You need to make sure that you've got stock of the product you are selling. And sufficient amounts of it that you can supply the demand in your area. Private equity has pretty much killed most retailers that have gone bust that you've heard of. Either private equity or debt load. Or a combination of the two. Where a private equity buy a retailer with the retailer's own money. And then load them with debt. And you can see that not just in retail. Have a look at water companies. Thames Water, great example. And if you're loaded with debt, there are things as a retailer you can't do. Retail is already a rough business to be in because your margins, depending on what sector of retail you're in, are as little as 10% on the products you're selling. So by the time you pay for everything else, you are having to sell vast quantities of some goods. So in FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, they're really low margins, and in more specialist goods, the margins can be up to 50%, which you need because otherwise you're not going to be able to keep a storefront open. Because even with 50% margins on a specialty retail items, you are your actual margins at the end of the year can be as low as 2 or 3%. And then the advent of the internet and people not having a reason to visit your store. There should be some theatre in retail. There should be something that's interesting for you to go and see and touch and interact with. And if there's not, then you could supply it from a warehouse. And the business rates that retailers pay for their buildings are significantly higher than Amazon does. So it's the same rateable value, but if you're paying £7 a square foot for a warehouse and your business rates are, I'm going to oversimplify this massively, 50%, then your rent is £7 a square foot, your business rate's going to be about £10.50. £3.50, so it's going to be £10.50 per square foot total cost. If you're in a city centre and you have a rateable value of, say, £50 per square foot. Your rent is £50 a square foot. You're going to be paying £75 per square foot and competing with Amazon, who's paying a tenth of that. So, which is why you may or may not have noticed, but when I travel, I go and travel to and make sure I put money in the tills of businesses I still want to be there. I love Toppings as a book company. They've got locations in St Andrews. They've got locations in Bath, in Edinburgh. The Edinburgh Bookshop's one of my favourite places in the world. I will buy a book from them every time I pass their doors, because if I don't, they won't exist next time. All the bakeries, I will go and put my hand in my pocket and go and buy something for the bakery from a coffee shop. If there's any business that I still want to be there next year, I will go and put my hand in my pocket and buy something from them. And could I buy it cheaper somewhere else? Yeah. But I would quite like to be able to go for a coffee in a coffee shop and meet friends still in future years. And unfortunately, I totally understand the reasoning, but way too many people, the most common complaint you hear is, oh, all the nice coffee shop's gone. I really liked that. No, well, when did you last go? Oh, it must be a year or so ago. Unfortunately, that will mean it's definitely closing. Coffee shops need people to visit somewhere between once a month and once a week to keep the lights on. Otherwise, they have to go and find new customers each time. So all that's to say, it's an incredibly stupid decision, which I've got form with, to decide to open a retailer, whether it's an online retailer that's looking to go to offline, or an offline retailer that also sells things online. I have to say, Jam, Waterstones are the biggest bricks and mortar now. But to be fair to them, they have at least put some money into their shops. I think they've done some sneaky tactics, which I disagree with. Because they have quite a lot of... For a little bit, they were opening Waterstone stores and making them sound like they're independent retailers. But Waterstones also own some very long-standing retailers and some very cool bookshops. Foyles in London. If you haven't been, you should. And Waterstone's London bookshop's really cool. Their flagship store. But there is... I can see a hole about to develop in the craft sector, which is a sector I've worked in before, which is an incredibly stupid sector to open in, because despite me not really thinking there is a clear winner in the UK crafts market, you don't need to do craft or creativity stuff to live. It makes your quality of life better, and I think we're in for a recession. So it's a bad time. In theory, a terrible time to open. In practice, it may well be too. But my thinking is, I've started 3 companies when it's been recessions or lean times, and I think you get a lot better at controlling your costs. Jam says the bookshop says this that's the extent of my knowledge and happiness. Yeah, like I think that's the thing, is that having bookshops that still exist, and like the Waterstones, you can see their business. They've moved more into gifting. They've tried to make themselves what I'm sure Howard Schultz would call the third place, so a place between work and home, so you can go to the bookshop. Like Toppings is if you ever get a chance to go to a Toppings store, go. They are a phenomenal retailer. Great books, excellent staff, really knowledgeable. but really it is an experience going to a topping store. If they see you sitting down in a topping store, they'll bring you a tea of coffee. Not as a sold thing, just as a, would you like a tea of coffee? Oh, no, Joe, I don't think it's the last recession finished either, but, well, it technically has finished, but growth has been anemic. Yep. Yeah, some excellent forward planning there, lads. But I think there is still events in people's lives that they will spend good money for. And I think having creative outlets is important, and I think that there are currently quite a lot of UK distributors going bust, so not people that you can go and buy products from, but distributors. So being in the space could be interesting. But Hobbycraft just got bought by private equity. And Hobbycraft have gone from what I think was a really poor retailer of craft stuff to strengthening their margins. They've done some more interesting things. But they've literally just been bought by private equity, and there is already talk of them going to pre-packed administration. Because they'll have been bought with their own money, and then they're going to use known as a CVA in the UK to close a bunch of their stores that are underperforming. Smith's about to go into it too. Smith's is a bit more complex. Smith's is selling off its high street side. If there was any doubt about what I did for a living before, there isn't now, is there? Can you tell I was a retail consultant for a number of years? So Smiths have looked at their business and invested very little in their stores. If you think about Smith stores, depending on where you were in the UK, because Smiths also took over John Minger's or John Menzies some years ago, as John Minger's moved to just doing news distribution or news and magazine distribution. Smith's News distributes most of the newspapers in the UK. Smith's High Street, they basically did the investing in London thing. So they looked at their high street store estate, and Smith's used to be thought of, depending on where you went, as a bookseller versus a newsagent, or as almost a department store. And if you look at increasing numbers of Smith stores over the years, they have cut the investment because when they've seen sales drop, instead of doing what, to Waterstone's credit, Waterstones did, which was they saw sales drop and saw the margins eroding in their core product books, so opened coffee shops in their spaces. They started moving towards more gifting, where the margins are far higher, and then more recently again into tabletop and board games, to attract more differing customers into their store and have an opportunity to try and sell them something. Smith's just closed off space. Smiths used to have, and still do to an extent, a strong own brand in stationery. And they kind of were one of the early adopters into kind of designer stationery. But they have invested so little in their retail store estate. And by retail store estate, I'm talking about the high street stores, not the travel stores. It's become a depressing experience to go into one. If you try and cut your way out of problems, you are probably going bust, unless you have a huge number of additional staff. Smiths have also been trying to quietly sell their high street store portfolio, not the stores as in running them, but every bit of retail property that they have owned, they've been trying to do deals to sell. And landlords have been trying to sell Smith stores for the last 2-3 years. because a lot of Smith's store estate, they have leases coming up within the next 2 years. If you don't invest in your store, and if it feels like crap when you go in there, and you don't have a coherent range of products and it's constant bargain bins, then you're going to see your sales dip, and you're probably going to close those stores as underperforming. Really, retailers should be refitting every store in their estate every 2 to 3 years to stop it feeling tatty. When they don't, during the pandemic, Tesco stopped investing in their stores. They saw a sales hit because of it. So Smiths have just, I think all the management of Smiths had almost given up on the high street and then been surprised when it gave up on them. And as Artemis Bacon Bit says, the retail stations are pretty strong. Yeah, that makes up 85% of their profit comes from what they call Smiths Travel. So they've been really strong in having bookshops in airports, Smith stores in train stations. That part of the business they're looking to keep. The high street part they're selling, but they're not selling the brand name with it. So there's only 2 bidders for it at the moment. There were 3, and you're likely to see all those big stores on the high street disappear. And the bidders, one of them is I think both of them are private equity backed. And not particularly strong turnaround specialists, in my personal opinion. Calix says, sell property, lease it back, looks great on the balance sheet. Yeah, and so it's one of the great shames in British retail. Woolworths was actually a profitable retailer until the day they closed their store. So Woolworths got bought by the Kingfisher Group, who own B&Q and Screwfix. The Kingfisher Group, Woolworths used to own pretty much all of their own property. And the Kingfisher Group sold all their property and then did a sale and lease back. And Woolies was still profitable. It could invest a lot less in its stores because suddenly... So, see the Smiths example of store decline. But they were still profitable. All of their stores are still profitable. What killed Smiths is that Smiths had a sister business within Smiths that sold most of or was a distributor for most DVDs and music in the UK. And they were seeing supermarkets, instead of buying from them, go round them. And they supplied most of the physical media. So they offered better and better and better credit terms to try and stop them doing that. And that business is the one that went bust. That went bust, and then with debts that it couldn't sustain and were called in. And that then led to Woolworths retail chain being called in. It is also the reason that Zavvi went through administration as well. Because they owed, they had a credit line that was pulled for, I believe it was over a couple of $1 million. Don't quote me on that. It was a wee while ago I was involved in that. And of course, very few retailers have that much cash on hand. So they went bust. Not because they were a bad business, just because their supplier went bust and called in their credit line. Savvy is now owned by someone else. I think, is it THG Group? I can't actually remember. Lads say Smiths costs far too much for what they sell. Counterpoint, I'm not saying that's... Smith's business model has been promotions based. So you can have... there's a couple of thought processes on how you do retail. One is that you just sell things at the MSRP or as close as possible to it, and then buy promotional stock to offer offers, which is what ended up happening from the Blue Cross sale, which was a rod that was it Debenhams that did it first, or BHS? But they had these big January sales. They're the first January sales that originally were to clear genuine overstock, and sales are still used to clear genuine overstock, but if you are selling items in sales, you have failed as a retailer. Those products are not good products for you, because consumers don't see the value in them at full price. So then you started buying things for promotion. You can spot those if you're going shopping during the sale times. You'll see things, because there are laws in the UK about how you can display prices and what you can call a sale. If you see special purchase written on something, those are items that have been bought from sale. So they're items that it used to be in department stores. Bedding is a good example. Bedding, good quality bedding, historically very expensive. But what they would do is make things to be sold at a lower price. So if you say your top end cotton sheet was £400 for the set for the whole lot, retailers would go in and say, well, I want something for sale and I don't just want to kill my business by selling this off cheap. So can you make me one that I can sell for £200 and I'll sell it for £400 for 2 months beforehand and then reduce it? And we'll sell it to £200. If anyone buys it at the price establishing price, I'm quids in, because it's been intended for sale at that lower price. Or they'll introduce specific lines that are just promotional lines that will only sell during the sale, that will compare well with, they will be of a lower quality in a lot of cases, or they'll just be, in some cases they're just that they've bought a huge amount and they'll just sell through it. They don't intend to carry it outside of sale. Or there is a strategy, a promotion strategy that is, you put different items on promotion all the time. So you have your store is absolutely plastered with like red signs, and there's fixed price, which is really rough business. You'll notice most fixed price retailers are going through it at the moment, also because of private equity, but because inflation kills you over time. And there's a strategy called EDLP, which Asda made famous in the UK, which is everyday low pricing, where they would, instead of having promotion cycles and sales, they would never do sales, but they would compete hard on core items and keep the pricing as low as they possibly could all the time, with a view to selling more over time. Smiths are a promotion retailer. So they will hold products that are useful to you, and will, things like command strips, they'll hold them close by to you, that if you need some command strips to do a job, to put a picture up or something, and you need them immediately, Smiths is a pretty good place to go for them. But if you buy them at full price at Smith, they can be a little bit on the dear side, and they will often promote those as, if you buy 3 packs from us, they'll come down to a more reasonable price. So it's a and they're in a rough position, because if you look at the products that Smiths sells, Smiths sold on the high street magazines and newspapers. Well, people think news is free, so don't as often pay for a physical media copy of anything. Game demos are now online. You don't have to go out and buy a $10 gaming magazine every month to get the latest game demos and patches for the games you already own. They sold physical media. The sales for that have also gone through the floor, both for things like DVDs and Blu-rays, and also books. Yes, I will sell you all of that, and I sell it to you again if I can. No. Transfer those items into storage, please. I wonder if we could smoke enough meat to make this worthwhile. Let's buy a bunch and see what we can do. They also sold stationery. Stationery, own brand stationery is higher margin. Branded stationery is low margin. And by low margin, about somewhere between 10 and 35%. So every tenner you give them, they're making about between £1 and £3.50. Or more actually, every £12 you give them, because VAT is a thing. They'll make £1.50 to £3.50. So, and a lot of those drivers to their stores, they even did a deal with the post office in the UK to put post offices in their stores to give you a reason to visit, and they'll always put them as far away from the door as possible, so you have to walk through the whole store. But the problem is they haven't invested in their stores, so they're not particularly attractive. They did toys and board games, and they did crafts for a little while. The margins on those are a little bit higher. Board games are a bit more variable. Crafting lines were a little bit wider because you don't sell a huge amount, so you need wider margins on them. But yeah, there's not a lot in their stores. Oh, greetings cards, which have also dropped through the floor in terms of how many people buy. And you had specialist companies on the high street open up that are more vertically integrated, that meant that it was very difficult to sell premium products for them. So they've been attacked at every point. And if you think about like Smith's Travel, they win because who's your alternative? If you're standing at the station, your train's about to go in 10 minutes and you want a book to read or a bottle of water or a £1 chocolate bar at the till, your propensity to buy there and then is far higher. You don't have to hold as much stock, and it can be way more focused, so you can use your buying power more effectively. And if you're at an airport, even more so. Anyone else notice Flanker's rant had a thunderstorm during the whole thing? Yes. Halligan, how are you? Lovely to have you here. The hero of retail. No, I actually... so, part of my career I can tell you about is I spent a wee while doing something... selling non-apparent assets for retailers for a while. And coming in kind of after the car crash had happened to see what could be recovered. So that's things like dealing with old shelving, safes, which everyone thinks has a value. They don't. Compactors, all of the fixture and fittings for a retailer, because people didn't, and a lot of the time the IT hardware as well. As another trick, if you want to see a retailer that's going bust, look at their till system. If it looks older than you are, they are probably not in a good place and probably debt laden. There you go. Doomed, I say. Hey, Russ.
Russ 555 just subscribed. Hello.
How are you, bud? Right, what I wanted to do, these warehouses here, I want to get rid of... In fact, if I say I want all of the usable items out of this except... Oh, bad words. Come on, I'm trying to do organising. Except arrows. No food, we've got storage for that. No produced materials, no raw materials. We just want arrows. And then these ones that are closer, that are more useful to us, I want no arrows in. I want to free up these storage bits. Yeah. Don't want food going in there because food will rot. Oh, in fact, this one I want to do the opposite for. That one we want to kick arrows out. Same on that one. I'll tell them to not put food in here as well. Because the food will just rot faster. mind selling 150 of that medicine if we can, or maybe 200. This is still a problem, chat. I'm going to actually transfer these back to storage. We're losing heavy tools. We have built something for them. Hey, Fire! 11 o'clock, you finished 4 doc's appointments already. Nice. At least they're all done. Enjoy nature. Right. How are we doing for people? Your labourer count is critically low. That's a problem. It's going to be really variable too. We need to get ourselves some more housing. An unpopular approach, I know. Building houses so people can have a place to live. Right. Let's do... They'll never catch on. There you go. I'll put a 4th one there as well, I think. It's not really what I wanted to do, but it gives us a little bit more of our workforce close to this area of town. And we can go and check on our horses soon. See if we can expand and get more cavalry. Yeah, what the hell? You a copy? Right? And what we should really do is leave it until the market will provide, because thankfully corporations don't care about profits, so they will do their best to put out as much product as possible at the lowest possible price to just help the community. Oh, hang on. Oh, no. That doesn't sound right. Jam says, so Flanker, thoughts on NHS being set up for the chop? Yes, so to clarify on that further from Jam's clarification, there is the National Health Service is not up for the chop itself, but the governing body of NHS England, so in the UK you have the NHS in Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales, I believe, are devolved. But NHS England is still run directly, and NHS England is the organisation that sits above all of the health boards. So if you live in say Swindon, there's NHS England, the government, the health department, NHS England, and then below that is the local health commissioning board, or I don't know if they even call them those anymore. But it would be like NHS Wiltshire or NHS Southwest, and then there would be all of the hospitals would be operated and run under that. Retro Nighthawk, thank you for the follow, much appreciated. So what the government seems to be proposing to be done, I have to be corrected here, Jam, is getting rid of the governing body for NHS England and it just being managed by the Department for Health. So it brings it closer to democracy, I think, is the way it's been described. But as far as I can ascertain, they're still going to keep all of the separate management-run health boards. So I don't think it's going to have that much of a difference to actual health outcomes. Because it's why people will complain. You mean it was sold off in pieces? It's one of those things, though, lads, that I don't think it will be sold off, no. I think they are genuinely trying to restructure management, and they have to be seen to be doing something. Sponge says that's what I took from the NHS body that oversees the rest. Yeah, it's like so having government closer to that without an additional layer of management could be good, but realistically, government is not the Minister for Health going and the way that the UK civil service at large works is that we don't have political appointees in the civil service. So a department is run by a minister or ministers that have responsibility for it, and they're really the executives in charge of the direction, if that makes sense. So government policy and laws provide the framework, and they will run their departments or lobby for their departments in a managerial capacity. But there are senior civil servants and permanent secretaries that in effect are really the chief executives of those that are specialist in their area. It's the reason why the UK doesn't particularly care if ministers have any experience whatsoever in the portfolio they're handed, because that's not their job. Their job is to manage the political side of things and make decisions at large, which are then implemented by the civil service. So I'm not entirely... They seem to be either trying to just absorb, like remove the gap between the government and NHS England and the health boards. So it's all government to health boards. And I'm not sure how big a saving that will make or how big a difference that will make, to be honest. But I don't think there are any risk, really, of much changing in the delivery of healthcare. I think that you're likely to see, and they could get rid of local management too, but the reality is there is there are the bigger the organization, the more layers of management you do actually need, because otherwise you become massively inefficient. Where companies go, we're just going to remove layers of management. We're going to have some cuts. Don't worry, it won't affect the front line. We're just going to remove layers of management. And sometimes that's needed. Sometimes there's been a structure that's been there for years that doesn't exist for the reason that it should do anymore, or the business has changed that you don't need quite so many people involved, or you've cut your workforce so you don't need so many managers. But typically senior management in the NHS they're expert managers, not necessarily expert doctors, and that's not a bad thing as long as they also have expert doctors they can go and speak to, and they speak to their teams and understand what's needed to deliver healthcare in their area. But they're as much logisticians and executives as they are health professionals. Though with very specialist knowledge in health, that's not to say that's a bad thing. If you just rip out layers of management, if you say, we're going to get rid of completely a layer of management that deals with all of the health boards, we'll bring it all in-house, you're either going to have the same number of managers anyway. You might get rid of a few executive positions. You might get rid of a few admin positions that were dealing with the administration of having a separate body. But it's not going to make that big a change. Is it Rant Friday, Raggy? It is indeed, Delman. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with it. And also there's when people talk about privatising the NHS, I hate to break it to you, it's been private since its inception outside of hospitals. And I'm not saying I want it more private, I would like it more in public hands, is my personal view. But if you go and see a GP, that is a private entity. Doesn't matter if they're big, small, or indifferent. So every GP is a private small business that provides services to the NHS on a contract basis. And when they renegotiated, when Labour renegotiated GPs' contracts, I think some 16 years ago, it might be longer than that now. I'm getting old. They kind of screwed that up because they were doing things I think everyone's doing things with the best intentions, but ended up effectively paying more money for less, which is less than ideal. So I think that's a really long way, Jam, of saying I'm not sure. The jury's kind of out. My own view is that in some areas, particularly in built-up areas, it would probably make sense for us to have more walk-in centres that are run by the NHS directly. And there have been some positive changes. I live in Wales, for some context, which the powers of the NHS have devolved to Wales. So if you ever hear a Welsh Welsh politician saying, "Oh, well, we'd love to do more, but it's central government that are really screwing us over here." No, it's been run by Labour since devolved powers have existed. Same for the SNP in Scotland. The NHS, the state of it, good, bad, or indifferent, is entirely down to the SNP. You could argue the overall budget handed down to provide services is, maybe good, bad, or indifferent, but that's kind of a separate discussion. But the management of them and the way they've been managed in terms of the structure of them and who provides the service have been devolved for a long time. Sponge says people actually get CGPs. Mine just gives out phone consultations. You need to put a picture of the affliction on the website for the doctor to look at. Yeah. Muzzle Magnus, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I think I would like to be careful not to be reactionary. And I think that there's going to be a lot of time needed to turn things around. But there are some things that people politicians don't want to say out loud that are factually correct, but very unpopular. So the good news is, thanks to our NHS, people are living longer. The bad news is, the longer you live, the more broken you are. And people have not been taking care of... I don't think it's even fair to say people aren't taking care of their health. I think that health has been such a low priority, and particularly where there have been multiple crashes. I have lived through so many once-in-a-lifetime crashes, once-in-a-lifetime pandemics, once-in-a-lifetime... Like the 2008 crash was the once-in-a-lifetime crash. So was the one in the 1990s. So was the one in the... I think they just thought lifetimes are really short. But I think there are some big, hard problems to solve. People... again, generalizations here. People don't necessarily use the right service for what they actually need. And I think we need to rethink about how GPs work. GPs are the backbone of the UK health service, but a lot of their time is wasted on appointments that people still don't turn up for. They're dealing with larger and larger populations. They're being asked to open for longer and longer hours. And some of that, not all of it, could be handled elsewhere. One of the things that the NHS in Wales has done is their list of things to do if you're feeling unwell starts with calling, is it 111? Or is that the local authority one? Or 101, but it's the health line, basically. So instead of calling 999, you don't need an ambulance unless if you're going to die, or you think you're going to die, you're having a stroke or a heart attack, call 999 in the UK. If you have a minor ailment or you are feeling sick, you call this other number instead. And they are staffed by nurses. So you've got a medical professional who will offer you some general advice. If it's less urgent than that, then they try and point you to a pharmacist. So in the UK, something that's not, I think, being widely talked about in the public is we have had for the last maybe 20 years now prescribing pharmacists. So you don't need a doctor to write a prescription. In a lot of cases, pharmacists can prescribe medicine for you as well. It's not quite as straightforward as that. They can't do all, much like dentists, for example. Dentists aren't allowed to prescribe any medication. They're allowed to prescribe a very fixed list. And unlike retail, this is an area I've done a little bit of work and research in, but no, I'm by no means a health expert. But the so they've also tried to get people to more often with minor ailments go to see a pharmacist, and then setting up minor injuries clinics. So if you do have something that is not life-threatening, but is something that needs immediate attention, so if you've had a trip or a fall, traditionally a lot of people will go to A&E for that, and you are probably not wanting everyone to go to A&E for that. You probably want to have a minor wounds clinic, because when people complain about hours wait at A&E, and sometimes it is just bad, but actually the vast majority of the time, in my personal experience, and unfortunately myself and those close to me have been to A&E more than a few times, if you are the walking wounded that you need an x-ray because you think you've broken something, and you walk into A&E, you will be there for hours, because you're always going to be the lowest priority versus someone that may have a heart attack or has come in a road traffic collision. Or so you're going to be there. You may as well plan to be there for 3, 4, 5 hours. But that's because the system is working, because you're being triaged maybe within... you're triaged initially by reception when you come in, where they'll just ask you some general questions. They'll make an initial decision as to how urgent your triage is. Then you're triaged by a senior nurse practitioner or a doctor, and then they'll send you off for tests or get you to see a doctor proper if they're going to need to admit you. So there's a lot of steps there to try. Like, if you are just going to the emergency thing for things that aren't emergency, you should be waiting there a long time. But also we should have a lot more options for you to see that doesn't get to that. And ideally, quite a lot of those options should be on hospital grounds, because you may still need, for a minor injury, if you've kicked your chair really hard and you think you've broken something in your foot, you are going to need to go to get an x-ray. But that's not... having options that aren't A&E is better for that. If you think you've sprained your ankle, a pharmacist might be able to help. So it's using that appropriate care. So I think there's going to be some more restructuring around that, and possibly more directly state-run facilities to allow that. So you're freeing up the most serious case. The other problem that we have is housing and care, which impacts people that need to be in hospital. I've never understood why at-home care is the councils rather than the NHS. It should be the NHS, in my personal view, because you have people that are well enough to be at home, and you really don't want to have people that are at risk, particularly elderly people, sitting in a hospital for longer than they have to be. You want them to be back at home, but it's all very well saying... So my grandmother had a stroke. She was no longer in a life-threatening state, but wasn't fully in a state that she could go back home, because she needed things like a ramp put in her garden to be able to get into her house, because otherwise you're going to have even worse health outcomes, because you're trapping people in their homes and they can't do things for themselves. They can't go out to go and get milk from around the corner, so their fitness drops because they're stuck in their homes. Anxiety increases about going out. So I think what we actually need to do is build more sheltered housing accommodation that is NHS run. That even if it's not the long-term goal, having sheltered housing and also just people being able to have amendments made to their own home that is NHS directed would get people out of hospital a lot faster, and mean that they're somewhere that they can continue living with the best possible chance at life. So I think that housing problem and the care problem are I think almost bigger problems for those that need hospital admissions, because a bed being taken up in a hospital costs an enormous amount of money and isn't the best place for that person. How bored are you if you're stuck in a hospital bed? You're not getting to see your family other than at 2 times a day for lots of very good reasons. You can't sit and watch your programs. You can't go to church or whatever it is that you do. You are out of your community, and the longer you're in bed, the more your fitness is dropping, and your fitness drops pretty quickly. I've got an appointment this week, Mark, this week coming to look at the storage unit that went up in flames. What was it like before the NHS flanker? Thanks, Sponge. Love you too, buddy. People are going to A&E department for things a GP can handle, but I think the bigger problem is people are going to the GP for things a pharmacist can handle, or a drop-in centre could handle, or 111 could handle. And for some of those, for very good reasons, right? If you're feeling unwell and your employer says, well, I want you to provide a sick note or you have to come in. Or it's a fit note now. Same difference. Then you're going to phone the doctor in the morning and ask for an appointment. Do you need a doctor's appointment because you're feeling unwell and you just have a bad cold? No. And in fact, you going to the doctors is the worst possible thing for all of the other people around the doctors that are elderly people that that need to see a GP for ongoing medication checks that can't be done somewhere else, or need blood tests that need to be done by phlebotomists at their GPs. So I think data sharing is going to be important. I don't love the fact that the data systems that we're using are from a careful legal considerations. I think that the NHS should have its own in-house data team and build its own database because it is a large enough consumer that it should build its own. Because I think adopting things off the shelf to fit the NHS costs a significant amount of money and you are over a barrel forevermore. So the data point you brought up earlier, Jan, I think you could, like the transfer of data, but also the data systems point could be a valid point for getting rid of a layer of bureaucracy. Someone says always ask pharmacists first. It's a super quick. They usually point you in the right direction. Yeah, like, and also I love in Scotland as well, your eye tests. If you go for an eye test, there's an NHS more advanced eye test that look for other problems when you go to an optician, and will flag you from the optician to further services if they detect things like you may have other conditions. What is that cavalry person doing? Who is that? Wait. I have no idea who that was and why they were out. Obviously, Lomador sat in the hospital taking a whole room for a week just to get an MRI. 1 week of mid was quick. To be fair, they discovered she has MS, but all that could have been done for home, not taking a bed. Yeah, exactly. Now she has an MRI every 6 months, is under medication monthly. And that's the thing. There are people that need the very specific help that a hospital can provide and need cared for in a bed. Because they are unwell enough, they need constant care that a carer could not do. Someone dropping by the house and helping just couldn't do. Or they live alone and they have no one that would be able to do that. And they aren't going to be able to get physically better unless unless they are constantly monitored. Not just in a A&E kind of thing, an accident emergency or a critical care unit, but also just in other units that you are at the point that someone's on the mend, but they need constant supervision, constant assistance. Otherwise, they couldn't live their lives or would have a poor outcome. there are other times, like MRIs in particular, and I am a huge advocate for the NHS, something that some of you may know about me, but some may not. I have epilepsy, which is a really minor condition. It's under control, doesn't do anything anymore. Other than, on occasion, I'll have some problems. But when I started that, I was at work and suddenly couldn't speak. I had all the symptoms of a stroke and was taken to, I used to live in, at that point I lived in Wales and worked in England for the part of my work. And I had all the symptoms of a stroke, went to, was taken to the hospital by a colleague, couldn't form thoughts, couldn't form sentences, couldn't speak properly. Got seen to really quickly by the local hospital there, and they checked that it wasn't a stroke, realised I didn't live in England, and said, get on a train and tell the train manager to call you an ambulance as soon as you hit Wales. I did not do that. If I'm well enough to be put on a train, my thought was I was well enough to find my own way to the hospital. I then went to the hospital in Wales. They also confirmed that I didn't have a stroke. And they were like, well, we don't know what's wrong with you. And it kind of sucks, but off you go home. I'll make an arrangement to go and see your GP. It will need further investigation. It took me 2 years to get an MRI scan in Wales that I would have had in England the same day, because different priorities, different waiting lists, different challenges. But I'm still incredibly thankful. I got the MRI scan. I actually was diagnosed with epilepsy, as much by plan as by the NHS, and I've had phenomenal medical care. And within 4 weeks of being given the right medication, I went from not being able to speak properly to, as most of you would say, probably speaking too much. But I used to have to sit and concentrate to form words. I couldn't go to the supermarket and be relied upon to buy a thing and come out again. I had constant panic attacks because I was having... My cycle was I was having constant, very minor epileptic issues, which was completely wiping me out, which then meant I was more likely to have another issue, which were like it felt like being constantly, when someone wakes you up in the middle of the night, that, but with the inability to speak. And sit and I had a terrible stammer. I could barely form words, and I had to concentrate to speak. I give you that background because I think the NHS is still the greatest thing on earth. And I lost on and off about 2 years of my life to not being able to be a functioning member of society. But at no point did I think, oh my God, I'm going, well, yeah. Money was tight to cover housing. But at no point did I think, oh my God, I've got $1 million hospital bill. So I think it's really important to protect the NHS and to make sure that people are going to appropriate care and they get flagged more quickly. But I think also we've got to be realistic about kind of whether we're all using the services correctly that we have and where the problems are. And not a lot of the problems aren't in the NHS themselves. They're the surrounding bits, like being able to get people back home faster for better health outcomes, because they get to live their life rather than sit in a hospital bed.
Need anything?
Add an extra person to that market there, so they keep pulling stuff over. Sponge says about the optician test. You got one of those tests a few months ago with your regular eye test. Costs about 20 quid though. It's cool to see the back of your own eye as well, right? And they're flagging stuff. They're trying to detect stuff far earlier for you with that eye test in Scotland. I think it's such a cool thing. Morphy said she's out in the hospital using their Wi-Fi, not even under any medication, just waiting for an MRI for a week. Yeah. And sometimes that's out of desperation that, and this isn't a unique to health services thing. This is a thing that happens in companies too, where someone's like, I really think you need an MRI. If I put you in a hospital bed and make it their problem, you're going to get an MRI. because you're taking up a hospital bed, so it's a massive problem for them. If I put you out into the general populace and try and book you an MRI, your MRI appointment may keep slipping, or you'll be seen as a lower priority than someone that's in the hospital. So we want to get an MRI done to get the best possible outcome for your daughter. So we'll send them to the hospital and make it the hospital's problem. Why is that person dying? That child dying? Yeah, literally outside the hospital, they died from exposure. But no insurance, safe physics. How are you, physics? Physics. Thursday nights are not a CK3 game you can make, right? Because of working hours. It was only the Wednesdays and only when you're not working ridiculous shifts, right? The reason I'm asking, my friend, is our CK3 game has just gone through 2 or 3 major updates. Sleeping hours, that makes sense. And it looks like our Thursday game is going to be a restart next week. It would appear you missed your latest copay, little Timmy. Back to the workhouse for you. Oh, yeah. Yep, Fargus thinks it's hilarious that Timmy's dead on the floor. Wow. I mean, on the upside, for logistics, not far from the graveyard. Or the crypt. I have a bad feeling about our Wednesday game as well, physics, so I might ping you, because we've gone through so many major changes and system changes on the on CK3. I think it's going to be a restart soon. Much as I'm really enjoying that run. Yeah, a very long way of saying I don't know, Jem. I think I'm hopeful that more problems being close to government may mean that government can maybe deal with those things more efficiently. But I'm not sure I would bet my last... I am a little concerned that also it's a change for change's sake, but you have to give people the chance to do... to make those changes. We criticise it beforehand as being terrible. I think nothing happens, but there is some changes that definitely need to be made. I'm a bit worried that it's the that the change we may see may not have the intended outcome, but I think they're doing it with the right intentions. I'm just not sure what the outcome is likely to be. We've got some of our defences up. The problem is we're still really low on stone, and we do have... We're not really low on stone. We are using every bit of stone that we've got. We're a bit low on population every so often, because every so often, well, this happens. And our food is much lower than I would like. I'm not going to replace the furniture makers that have passed. So I've turned this off, by the way, where it'll auto refill professions. But I think part of the issue here, you can see that every so often we drop on our labourers, and that's because we need so many builders, because builders not only build buildings, but they do all the maintenance as well. Let's get the game speeding up. Not going to sell quite that much. I'm trying to keep a decent amount of the medicine in stock, but it's a good thing to... a good export product. Our soap, I'm trying to keep a couple of hundred in stock. Oh. I'm meant to be changing games when Wagley gets here. This feels like a next week flanker's problem. Recent raider activity in the area suggests powerful champions are gathering in significant numbers. These armored brutes wield fierce weapons and brandish shields, making them a formidable foe for your people who have not yet had to contend with. Well, poop. Wait, Wagley's in the raider. I didn't say that was the case or not. We've got cavalry. Have we got armor sets? We do. That's another cavalry stable. We're already low on population, so I don't want to throw too much into our units, but I would quite like to have a larger army. The problem is, you can see, our area is huge. And Wolf Company previously got wiped. I might be able to pull people from our economy in places to fill the gaps. Let's get a unit of pikemen. Oh, we don't have enough gold for that. Excellent. Says Wagley, Flanker said you're a raider. I don't think Wagley's here yet. Oh, I thought I had more money than that. We've got stock of clothes, not a lot, but our clothes and shoes we actually have stock of now rather than sitting constantly at zero. Wait, so Wagley isn't the raider, says what? I also didn't say that word either. Or those words in that particular order. Where can I pull some people out of? We could maybe get people out of mining temporarily. Let's see if our iron mines are actually needed. Right, we've got 321 iron there, so I'm going to temporarily close that iron mine. I think we do need gold mines just to be able to pay our people. We've got stone there. Oh, balls. No! Oh, of all the soldiers, it's freaking cavalry that left. That's 1,000 gold riding away there. Right. Damn it. Oof. We are pretty desperate for traders to come through. Is there anything else? If we take that clay... Is there any food here? Yes. There we go. Let's go put a bit more gold into our stores to cover some of the soldiers' recruitment. So I'm thinking we may be able to get rid of the clay pits. I don't mean delete them, just like close them. Because that will free up that's an export industry. We can keep that one lower than it should be. Our little warehouse thing earlier on has worked just by moving all of the arrows out to these two, or these three, has freed up these much closer to the market. So we've got a wee bit more storage all round.
Hello there.
Oh, he's almost in. What's he stocking the trading post with?
Hey.
Morning, Wagley. Sorry you're late. No worries at all. How are you today? You did indeed miss the rant part of the stream. best part to miss. Oh no, what a pity, never mind. Yeah, I thought you'd be upset. I'm hoping that this change... Oh no, grocers I do need to keep at full strength. We want the grocers are the people that go out for the market and grab all of the different resources, so your other villagers all spend less time having to wander to where products are made.
Veiled_Fury just subscribed. Don't mind me, I'm just here to bully the stream of Flanker hearts.
Welcome, Veiled. How are you? Lovely to have you here. If you're not already following Veiled, you definitely should do at twitch.tv/Veiled_Fury. That meme you put in dad jokes did make me laugh harder than it should have done. Doop-a-doo. There we go. How was Tarkov treating you, by the way? I didn't get a chance to drop by, but I always enjoy watching you playing single-player Tarkov. As a fellow streamer, I could rate more to the meme than I wanted to as well, right? Apparently words as well as memes hurt. Particularly when accurate. So, Wagley, what are we playing today? What's the, what are we starting with? It went about as Tarkov as to be expected. Some fun raids and some where you got too tapped without ever seeing the shooter. Might as well want to play more Grey Zone as well. Oh, yep, this seems like the excellent opportunity to stop chat. Yeah, well, we should definitely change over games here for no particular reason. Future Flanker's going to be pissed. Yeah, but that guy. If I had to deal with past Flanker screwing me over today, Future Flanker can deal with me screwing them over. Besides, you forget. Flanker has a really short memory. He won't remember this is about to happen. He'll happily log into his early morning chilled out game and have to deal with hundreds of raiders. What an idiot. Yeah, all the more surprising, right? Makes for more entertaining content. I managed to survive a massive raid, albeit not this big. So why shouldn't Future Flanker have to do the same? That guy. Like the fates, all that was, all that is, all that will be. So anyway, I've decided that is an excellent time to stop. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing Farthest Frontier. And our next scheduled Farthest Frontier 3 should be all the more entertaining for us. Won't be any time to rant next time. So, we're going to be playing some co-op games of Wagley today. There's been a few that have had some updates. Also, what I was going to do was have a quick look to see if we had any interesting First Play Friday games. Or whether we use our First Play Friday slot to check out some of the games that have had big updates. So, I have a few games in my inbox that have been sent unsolicited, so don't know. That doesn't sound like a game I'd choose to play, but does seem to fit some of the games you've been playing recently. There's one called Unholy Priest I don't think we'll play today. I've been offered a fresh concept, looking for something different. The Unholy Priest offers a thrilling blend of simulation and horror. It offers you the out-of-the-ordinary game mechanics like playing as a priest conducting exorcisms of funerals. Yeah, I'm providing services for next week's villagers. And an AI-based story. I think I'm okay for the AI-based storytelling adventure. I do have option 2. You have a call in a bit. Yeah, I do have a call in a little bit. Dirt Squad Phasmo. Quite impossibly. Wagley, did you want to do... so I think we've got Cafe Mart Simulators had an update. We've had an update to... Oh, Manlord's had an update. It's not a car one. House Flipper 2 had a fairly major update, didn't it? Repo. Well, oh. I can look that up. No, I heard of it before. Repo is an online co-op horror game featuring physics, proximity, voice chat, and scary monsters. You and up to 5 friends can venture into terrifying environments to extract valuable objects using your physics-based grabbing tool. Even the monsters are affected by Newton's law of gravity. I will... Give me a second. I'll see if I can grab that as a future game. Erkley says, have you played Foundation? I have a little bit. I played it when the update came to the demo, Erkley. And I have bought Foundation, so we can... I can add that to the roster as a single player game to play a little bit more of. Also, I'm hoping to arrange some more time to play some more 2 Point Museum as well. I really want to play some single player, but also I've been really enjoying playing it with Wagley and Plan as a multiplayer, like us all doing it at the same time. But I need to solve a couple of tech problems. Also, there will be soon TM some Traveller's Rest, which I might have to play a couple of hours of single player, but their online multiplayer update is out now. But I think I have to do 2 hours in single player before you can play multiplayer with Traveller's Rest. Right, I've added repo to my library and I'm installing it now in the background as well. That's installed. Contractville had its roof and porch update, and hopefully some performance enhancements. Okay, I guess I'll buy repo. You forced my hand. Forced, yes. Well, we might be able to play repo in a little bit then as part of our First Play Friday. So, you saw the aggressive force used, yes. Almost broke poor Tolman's arm. We also, we've got Parkitect as a multiplayer game as well. So just patching Contraville and Parkitect. So was it House Flipper 2 on like a big project you wanted to work on today, Wagley? And I'll start doing the things and stuff as our first game. Just waiting on PC to reboot. Alright, well, while we're waiting for Wagley, I'll do all of the necessary. Right. Wagley's just rebooting. I will get us switched over. To our next game. So everyone should just be able to stay exactly where they are. And it should drag you over if you're watching on YouTube. And on Twitch, it will just change over. I'll be back in just a second. I'll do the quick changeover to playing some House Flipper 2. One of our mega projects on co-op. Be back in just a moment.
Though it tastes fine, I can only drink a couple cause it feels like a lie.